She said it with a smile, that smug, condescending little grin that barely resembled the girl I once knew. At least Mom's new husband isn't some broke failure like you. The sound of her fork striking the plate cut through the air. Even the hum of the refrigerator seemed to vanish, her tone sharp, practiced, and dripping with arrogance, carved through the stillness of my kitchen like a blade. At the end of the table, my ex-wife sat elegantly, swirling her wine as if she hadn't just fed our daughter those same cruel words days earlier. There was a sparkle of victory in her eyes, the kind that comes from watching your poison finally take hold. I didn't respond. I kept eating, each bite heavier than the last. I swallowed hard, reached for my water, and forced myself to breathe through the ache that had replaced my voice. That was the night something inside me went silent. Not the uneasy quiet that fills a room after harsh words, but a deeper silence, the kind that starts in your chest and spreads until it consumes everything. There was a time when Sarah would run straight into my arms after ballet class, her cheeks red, her little feet blistered from dancing too long. "Daddy, you're my hero," she'd whisper between giggles. And I believed her. Even after the divorce, I stayed close. I paid for everything, her classes, her car, even that summer program in Paris she couldn't stop bragging about. Every check I wrote came from the vacations I skipped, the overtime I worked, the dreams I quietly buried to make hers come true. I didn't complain. Not once. Not even when Laura walked out to chase. A man with an expensive watch and an empty heart. Not when she began, poisoning Sarah's mind with whispers about my failures and bitterness. I watched it happen slowly, one comment at a time, until my daughter, the little girl who once called me her hero, looked at me like I was a stranger. Still, I held on to hope that one day she'd see the truth. But that night at dinner, that's when hope died, not with shouting or slammed doors, but with silence and indifference. The betrayal wasn't loud. It was subtle. It showed in the way she stopped hugging me, in the roll of her eyes when I asked about school, and worst of all, in the way she called her mother's new husband Dad right in front of me, as if I had never existed. Then came the final twist, a tuition receipt, paid, but not by me. That's when I realized I'd been completely erased. They'd cut me out, but not my money. Something shifted inside me that day. I stopped hoping. Stopped waiting to be seen. They mistook my silence for weakness. Laura always believed I was too gentle to fight back. Too patient, too soft-spoken to ever disrupt the illusion she'd built on the foundation of my effort and sacrifice. She forgot one thing. I was the one who built that life, and I knew exactly how to take it apart. So, I began. First, I called the bank, the education fund, in my name, legally mine. I froze it. Laura had never read the fine print. She just assumed I'd keep paying to avoid conflict. Next, the dealership. Sarah's car was leased under my business account. I canceled the contract and had it quietly towed from her university parking lot before sunrise. Then, her university account. I revoked my access credentials, shut down her meal plans, dorm payments, and textbook allowances. I redirected every notice to my private email. By the next semester, she wouldn't be able to register for classes, not until every overdue balance was settled. I waited. At 6:43 p.m., the phone rang. Laura's voice cracked as she tried to sound furious instead of terrified. "What did you do? Sarah's car is gone. She's stranded. What the hell is wrong with you?" I took a deep breath, calm washing over me for the first time in months. "I stopped funding disrespect," I said evenly. "You can't just—" "I can. I did. And I'll do it again if you keep pushing." The silence that followed was delicious. Then came the line she always used to manipulate me. "You're punishing your daughter." "No," I said quietly. "I'm teaching her that actions have consequences, just like yours did." She hung up. For the first time in months, I smiled. 2 days later, Sarah showed up, not to visit, but to beg. She stood on my porch, eyes swollen, nails bitten raw. Gone was the perfectly dressed young woman with the designer clothes and polished tone. What stood before me was my daughter, real, small, and scared. "I need help," she whispered. I stayed silent. Her composure cracked. Tears spilled down her face. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't mean it. It was just a joke," Mom said. "She told me you wouldn't care." And for the first time in years, I really looked at her, not the young woman who'd traded my love for acceptance, nor the teenager who treated my sacrifices like loose change. In that moment, I didn't see defiance or resentment. I saw the child I once carried to bed after long nights, the same little girl who sobbed after her first school play, afraid I wouldn't be proud of her. "I never wanted you to love me for what I gave you," I said quietly. "But I also won't let you despise me while still taking from me." "I don't hate you," she whispered through tears. I was stupid. "I thought," her voice cracked, "I just wanted to belong. I didn't mean what I said that night." "Yes, you did," I replied gently, "and that's okay. But now you'll learn what it costs." I didn't hand her the car keys, I didn't offer money or bail her out with sympathy. Instead, I gave her something far more valuable: responsibility. Within weeks, she found a part-time job, moved in with a friend. For the first time, she began to understand the weight of her choices, the price of arrogance and misplaced loyalty. Laura, on the other hand, never stopped calling. Her voicemails filled my inbox, some laced with fury, others drenched in desperation. "You're destroying her life," she hissed in one message. "No," I thought. "I was saving her from yours." Time rolled forward. Sarah's texts grew shorter, softer. She no longer begged for money. Instead, she sent little glimpses of growth. A selfie with her coworkers, a photo of a used textbook she'd proudly bought herself, a simple message: "Thank you for being tough when I needed it." She was learning. As for Laura, her silence came eventually. Her husband's empire collapsed, built on debt and deception. Her social media turned into a graveyard of old glamour. No yachts, no champagne smiles, no staged perfection. I didn't have to lift a hand. I simply stepped back and let gravity do the work. People think revenge roars, that it's loud, dramatic, full of fire. But the truth? The most satisfying kind of revenge is quiet. It doesn't destroy. It exposes. And when the dust finally clears, those who betrayed you see what they missed all along. You were never weak. You were simply patient. And now, you're done waiting.